which team has popped to you the most in terms of intrigue? Not best necessarily, but in terms of intrigue.
The first one that comes to mind is definitely the Houston Rockets. I watched their game yesterday, I believe, against the Milwaukee Bucks, where they came all the way back in true Bucks of this season fashion. They just allowed them to.
I caught this too.
With very little resistance. And it took a game winner and a really, really well contested inbound from Taurean Prince that threw off Sengun, who was trying to catch it and somehow keep his balance and lay it in, which he almost did. And that was actually a big screw up by the Bucks, like defensively. And I don't feel like a lot of people paid attention to it. They were like, great job from Prince. I'm like, he was open. Like,
Giannis caught this right away. I think that's why you see after the game, he didn't even celebrate. He like huddled with everybody. Like, yo, come on. We got like he's like, that shit can't happen again.
Yeah, that was just terrible end of game execution. Like that was like a Doc Rivers special in my head. Like that just felt wrong. Like I felt like Milwaukee got away with one there. And yeah, no, but the Rockets are fun and interesting to me, even though they're not maybe winning as many games as they'd like to be. Just because I feel like they are truly one of those teams that are like one guy away from going from like that mid-tier in the Western Conference to landing within that like 1 through 3 or 1 through 4 slotting right now. Fred VanVleet is like figuring it out. He has a shooting touch back, which is fantastic. Dillon Brooks is always just like the perfect pest to have on the floor alongside VanVleet. So like you're not relying on him too much. When it comes to guarding or at least defense. Alperen Sengun is like, he is just like
Baby Jokic.
One of the more underrated like bigs in the league somehow, which is crazy to me, but he is like Baby Jokic. Very fun to watch. They really crushed the Knicks in their game with him alone, and that was it. Like all it took was just getting the ball to him in the post and it was over, just because Cat struggled to really contain him in that game. And the Knicks are just down so many bigs, but that's a topic for another.
We can get to them if you want. That's why I feel like I talk
another
about
day.
them a lot nowadays, but we can get to them a lot. Also,
like,
with the Rockets, I just want to add real quick, Dillon Brooks, not just the defense, but as you mentioned, like he's doing some stuff on offense. He's making about 40% on threes.
Yeah, he's
like on volume, on legitimate volume, 5 threes a game.
And I had a feeling that was going to happen just because of him coming in from the Olympics. I feel like they relied on him a lot for the 3-ball, and he was at a decent clip with Team Canada. And so I felt like he and RJ Barrett were going to come into the season pretty hot, and both of them have. RJ Barrett has been fantastic with Toronto really this season. And that makes me very happy because I always knew he had it. It's just, But yeah, with Dillon Brooks, he has been so big for them as well. But I think with the Rockets, they have so many young guys on that team that don't necessarily have like a carved role. And I think that that's going to become an issue, especially as they just get later in this season and maybe closer to the trade deadline. And as Houston starts to figure out like their more solidified like 1 through 7 or 1 through 8 rotation. I think that especially with, I hate to say it, but I feel like Jabari has been a little bit like out of sorts with them this season, which is weird because I feel like he was starting to like hit that stride with them last year. And now he's just kind of like there to me in the games that I've seen. It hasn't been that many, so I will add that addendum. But especially yesterday, it just did not feel like he was asserting himself in any meaningful way down the stretch. He wasn't, I think he was benched at some point in that fourth quarter too. So it wasn't even like he was impressing Ime Udoka to the point where he had to be on the floor. But it's just like a lot of young guys on that Rockets team that I just feel like are not able to carve themselves out a role yet.
Well, I think with Jabari Smith, he's in the trade package. First of all, I think Houston, to your point, is a guy away. We have a comment. I'm gonna get to that in a second because I do actually want to touch on the Lakers. We have a situation in Houston where Houston, we have a problem was right there, but I didn't go for it. We have a situation in Houston right now where like I think there needs to be a consolidation trade at some point if they're going to take that next step, because it's felt like they have too many guys and you kind of just need another one who's going to like raise your ceiling, so to speak. There's been rumors about a number of guys in the league, Jimmy Butler being one of them, who I don't think the Heat are going to trade as of now. But if I'm Houston, that's probably one of the guys that I would look at. Even though it's on an expiring contract, you have to figure out the financials in that deal. But like, I wonder if Jabari Smith is going to be in that. Amen Thompson, I think, is somebody who should be in their future plans, and as of recently is starting to play better after a slow start to the season. I think he could be very, very meaningful to this team and could eventually start once the team probably looks a little bit different. He'll have his opportunities as the season progresses because the ebbs and flows of the NBA means guys are going to get hurt. That's just part of the experience. Reed Shepherd, they haven't had to depend on him at all this year. Right. And he was getting a lot of Rookie of the Year buzz, too much. I thought that, I'm like, man, people are expecting Reed Shepherd to be this Rookie of the Year. And I'm like, he's not going to play like that big of a role right away. I think he could be a good player, but they haven't needed him, which is a testament to their depth. And I also want to mention Tari Eason, because good God, defensively, I mean, he looks like a guy who could play all defense, like be on the all defensive team. He looks like a guy just like one of these annoying, in a good way, multi-dimensional, versatile forwards who can guard 3+ positions, who, if he gives you something on offense too, he could do it efficiently because he's going to shoot a high percentage, because he's not somebody who's going to take a ton of shots from the perimeter, although he's been doing a little bit of that too. He's shooting 34% on threes and about 3 threes per game. So Tari Eason is also really good. And I like their top, I'm looking at it now, their top 7. So these are the guys that are all playing 12+ minutes a game. So over 12 minutes a game, actually. Van Vliet, Jalen Green, who we haven't even mentioned yet, is their leading scorer also and super talented. Long-term fit, we'll see, but they did sign him to an extension, although when they signed him to that extension, it felt like, oh, that's a contract that they may actually try to piece together in a deal, because that's a tradable deal. But I don't want to shit on Jalen Green. He's been fine. Some will complain about the efficiency or whatever, but I think he'll come around a little bit. But Fred Van Vliet, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Alperen Sengun, Jabari Smith Jr., Amen Thompson, Tari Eason. That's a good talented top 7, but it does feel like there needs to be some sort of consolidation, because you still have Reed Shepherd there. You still have, jae'Sean Tate, who's a good player who's not getting minutes, who I think could be helpful to other teams right now. So Houston's fascinating, and I think they can be legitimate also. And Cam Whitmore too, another talented player who's not really playing like that.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, they are very interesting. I think once they clean things up also defensively, they will be a lot more competitive. Like, the offense is extremely impressive to start the season from them. It's just managing to win those games, like the Bucks game, like being able to stop Dame from hitting what felt like a wide open layup. Should have been a little bit harder for him to do, and they just were not able to like put any resistance on that drive from him. And which was very weird, because I felt like they were doing an excellent job in like the few possessions prior to that. Dylan Brooks was switching on to Giannis, and he was preventing him from getting anything easy at the basket, which is a very wild sentence. The fact that Dylan Brooks was guarding Giannis like super successfully for multiple possessions, it just shows how versatile that team can be, especially defensively, and you have the luxury of Dylan Brooks on your team, but it's just not consistent enough. But I think that's just youth, and I think that that's them just like gelling and their chemistry together as a team. But I really love what I've seen from them on offense. It's just a matter of figuring out, all right, well, who is actually this team and who will be on this team, especially by the trade deadline.